Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast. After probably our longest break during this season so far, we have news for you, as well as a recap of the Giro dell'Emilia, where the two big guns of Slovenian cycling, Primož Roglič and Tadej Pogačar, went head-to-head. But the race was precipitated by Primož Roglič announcing his departure from Jumbo-Visma. We're going to recap the race first, and then we're going to dive all into that announcement, including what teams he could be possibly going to, why this is happening, especially after the bombshell dropped in Villaflitz by Kirchhoff's last Sunday. But the parcours for Giro dell'Emilia, you should know it by now. It's a lovely little Italian race the week before Giro de Lombardia, 206 Ks. It's like the E3 of the Italian classics. Carpi to Bologna San Luca, and it has 4 or 5 repetitions of the San Luca climb, which is used all the time. It's 2.1 Ks, 9.4%, but there's steeper sections in there, like 12.5%, 15% sections. Froome on Barlow World stalled on this climb. Roglic has won many times, both in the Giro and this race. And the stylist was good, Benji. UAE brought a super team here. They weren't messing around.
Exactly. Ayuso was in this race. Pogačar was in this race. We had next to him Adam Yates also in this race. We had an entire team, Jay Vine, Ulysses supporting them. And honestly, with that start list, they were the head-on favorites, even though obviously Roglic was good at the Vuelta. So I was just mainly curious to see that Roglic versus Pogačar in the same race since the first time since the Tour de France 2022, the Granon? No, was it the Granon stage or was it a few stages later where Roglic dropped out?
A few days later, I think. He still did like the Puy-Marie style Mons stage, I remember.
Exactly. But anyway, the stage did not start with the big action. We had a breakaway of like 8 riders, but in the end, when I started watching, it was just before the actual local San Luca climb started, where they had 2 riders left, Scaroni and Mattia Bais, and they were about to get caught. One quick note, Astana and Eolo's shirt, they look like teammates for the first-time viewers of this race, 100%. But anyway, they got caught at the first San Luca climb. And on that San Luca climb, and on the next one, you've got these like early moves. So on the first one, Osorio and Pacher were attacking. Osorio, I reckon that's the dude that left Bahrain or something.
Is that guy?
Is he on the team? Alejandro Osorio on GW Shimano? I reckon it is.
Yeah, that's him. That's him. That's him.
What happened again?
Dude, look at his PCS profile. It's just a grayed out MS Paint grey jersey. What's going on here? You all got to see this. If you're listening to this, go to Pro Cycling Stats and look up Osorio. But yeah, I mean, he moved over to Europe and I think he struggled adjusting. He's gone back to Colombia and frankly dominated their national circuit, and he's got a second chance at Shimano Sidamek. But yeah, he's very talented. But okay, that's him. He's back.
Yeah, he was in there, Pacher as well, and Maika was already setting pace on this first San Luca climb, so they're trying to make it hard, and that happens on the next one as well, where Harper has already attacked, also in the same way Pacher and Osorio have, but all these attacks will eventually lead to nowhere because UAE is controlling them. After Maika on the next one, on the next San Luca climb, we've got Vine controlling, so that's early for riders like this, but that's also because their team consists of riders of this quality.
Yeah.
Were you surprised that Ulysses was used after Maika and Vine?
No, because Ulysses is so good in this sort of race.
Yeah.
I know he's maybe not as good as he once was, but he's really good in these sort of races. And maybe Vine and, like, I don't know what Maika's shape is like, frankly. The question mark I had was Ayuso. We've seen him at San Sebastian before. You either get really good or you get nothing out of him. And so that's the risk when, as you say, they're cycling through these riders quite early, setting a hard pace, and it kind of hinges on Ayuso being the third last man, because Ulysses can't do second last that hard. He can do third last, San Luca. But unless you want to use Yates too early, Ayuso's going to have to pull. But yeah, there was also descent attacks while Vine's pacing. Aliotti full sent it. Don't know if he's a local to the Bologna area. He looked like he knew the roads well. Went past Masnada. Crazy speed, especially as there's filtered sun on this descent, so you're going in and out of sun and shade. It'd be really difficult to see properly. But UAE keep it locked down. There's like no flat in this circuit. It's a really, really hard circuit. Get to the second last climb. Who led into the base? Was it Ulysses of the second last? Or are you so gone already?
when it comes to the second last one, I did not see Ayuso in this race properly. I swear I barely saw him do anything in this race. And it was Yates that really launched it on the second last San Luca. This is with 12 kilometers to go, already with Pogacar in the wheel. And this is where we see the group basically deteriorate, because when Adam Yates goes to the front, I swear it even took a second for Pogacar to get in his wheel. It kind of was like the kind of pacing where it was so hard, Pogacar was kind of like, oh, got out of my tempo and get to his wheel.
Well,
and
he let his wheel go initially,
group.
no?
Did he?
I think so. And then Baggioli went to it, and then Pog was like, all right, one rider's gone. One rider's gone. I'm closing it down. I was like, I mean, I thought, geez, you don't want to let that gap open up. Because Pog's basically let Baggioli, no offense to the man, but he's not beating Yates here. Like, because Adam Yates showed at Montreal, he's a different level this year in these one-day races. He's brilliant. And I was like, you're going to bring, for the sake of Baggioli, Roglic, Carapaz, Mas, who beat you last year, back to the wheel? Answer was yes. And then after that one attack from Yates, it was clear, Benji, the plan was Adam Yates was going to make the race from maybe 80% of the second last climb to the descent, the middle flat section, and as much of the last climb as possible. Adam Yates is going to make the race as hard as possible for Pogacar.
And the thing then is, you are making basically, it kind of reminds me of the Tour de France 2020, the way Jumbo rode, as in they rode the races as if Roglic was the strongest, and I feel like he rode the race today as if Pogacar was definitely 100% going to be the strongest, which with Pogacar, there's a solid chance of that.
Yeah.
But after the Vuelta with Roglic's form that we saw in Angliru, I also wouldn't be saying that he was going to be weak here today. So it's kind of like, wouldn't dual leader strategy using Yates differently have helped them get a better result?
And also, this is a 200-kilometer race, not a 260-kilometer race.
Yeah.
This is the perfect climb for Roglic. He is like a steep bit of a wall where he doesn't attack, and then a 500, and then a 30-second burst on a climb that's about 6 to 7 minutes. I'm not even sure Poggy... Anyway, the level is extremely close between the two of them, to the point where the assumption that Pogacar will definitely be better is a hopeful assumption. He might be. Pogacar 90% of the time is the best. But as you said, like, I was surprised, especially after the Tour de France, that they didn't let Yates have a go. But Lombardy is a different story, obviously, to this. So yeah, Yates just paces. Everyone's suffering. There's no attacks, really. Maybe Ciccone tried to crash himself on a descent, I think.
The attacks are basically backwards, because we see that group of like 8, 9 riders form, and it's like Adam Yates, Pogacar, Carapaz looking really good today, El Jaguar de Tulcan, almost ruined that. Enric Mas in there as well, Vlasov, Rogla. We've got Woods, and then Simon Yates holding on for dear life, and Ciccone is in there as well. And it wasn't really on the descent, it's on the uphill. We saw Ciccone try and move past and try and make a bit of an attack on the side, but Mas was then making it wider or something, or was that Vlasov on the last climb? That might have been Vlasov on the last climb.
There's a little dipper after the where I think Ciccone tried to get a jump. It's not in the finish, but it's just shut everything down. And you could see Carapaz was literally, there's a shot where he's just shaking his head in the wheel, like, hold, this pace is so hard. And oh, I dropped out again, which means that Pogacar must have been feeling good. And maybe, to have an analogy from my internet just having a short circuit, I wonder if the heavy pace of Yates is the best thing for Pogacar, especially 2 climbs out, because they get to the final climb and he attacks. After Yates is pulled off, he attacks. Or maybe Vlasov tried to follow the moto first, I can't remember. And yeah, he doesn't get that instant separation, Benji. It's not like I knew when Carapaz was able to follow for quite a while, it's like, this can't be, completely dominant form. Normally he attacked, like, let's look at Puy de Dôme. Puy de Dôme, he went bang. Like, the gap to Simon Yates and everybody, just huge. And then Vingegaard was actually quickly cracking. This wasn't the same sort of power, I don't think. And Roglic, he kind of looked bad, didn't he? He had me bluffed a little bit.
There was this moment where Pogacar looked back and there was a grimace on Roglic's face with 1.3 kilometers to go, and I was like, did he just grimace on purpose? Or did he just grimace because it's hard? I generally couldn't tell. And I didn't really count him out necessarily because Pogacar also looked like he was suffering. So I felt like everybody in the group was suffering. Vlasov was the one that looked the best of them all at that point, but I didn't believe that was going to last for long. Because he had no grimace on his face, but soon he would.
I mean, good on him, but being the first to attack a group of Pogacar Roglic is it's ambitious. I love the confidence, but it's ambitious, I think.
The thing is, when Adam Yates went off the front, it was sudden, but that move of Pogacar, like you said, was there. It was kind of like there were 3 people at the same time attacking, it felt like.
Yeah, and it was front on shot as well, so you couldn't really see who was going quicker. Pog was going the quickest at that point, I think. Definitely, like, the people we thought that could win this race was very quickly narrowed down to Pog, Carapaz, and Roglic, because Mas can't win the sprint, and if he's getting gapped on this burst here, it's unlikely he's going to be able to come back, gap them again, keep them gapped. So El Hagwa, as you said, was looking really, really good. I saw him riding past with the boys on my way back from somewhere 2 days ago. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot Carapaz because he crashed out of the TDF stage 1. And maybe he's having a good tilt at a Lombardia next weekend. But Poggy doesn't get any separation. He's not going to just pull with Roglic in the wheel. Carapaz throws in an attack once Ciccone and Mas and Yates have come back. Simon Felipe, that is. And Poggy shuts it down with Rog in the wheel. And I think in overall, Pogacar has better tactics than maybe Roglic. I'm talking in like a cobble classic or something in high picture breakaway formation maybe. But in the last minute of a race, there's almost no one more cool than Roglic. Like he was not closing Carapaz down. No way. Pogacar had to do it, and then he was going to strike.
Exactly, because like on paper, Roglic might not trust himself against Pogacar in a 1v1 sprint, but if he knows that he can put Pogacar under pressure by forcing Pogacar to close someone else, knowing that Pogacar is less patient than Roglic, because I think that's pretty clear from the races we've seen this year. We saw it at Tirreno, for example. We saw it in multiple stages in Tirreno. I'm pretty sure that we saw him being patient there. We saw it in Catalonia, where he was pretty damn patient the wheel of Remco a few times. So it's throughout this year that patience has really helped him get victories. Also because he knows that patience in good moments can lead to those victories if you force others to do the work instead. And we see the burst coming. It happens. It kind of feels like it wanted to happen twice. As in, before Roglic launches, he moves and he's kind of blocked in. And I swear, 50 meters later, he tries to make the same move again. And that's where he makes his actual attack. Between 500 to 400 meters to go is my actual guess.
Maybe a bit less.
It was a bit less?
It was maybe 30 seconds because they're still going uphill. But yeah, you see Poggy doesn't immediately get back to the wheel. And if you remember because these two have barely raced against each other. If you remember, go back to the Tour de France like 2020, when Poggy's good, he's straight in that wheel. And he wasn't straight in the wheel. And Roglic just rips open this gap. And he just does this smooth sprint the whole way and wins Giro dell'Emilia comfortably for... How many times he won this race? The third time he won it in 2021 and 2019. Gapping Pogacar in the finish, who came second, then Simon Felipe third, Enric Mas fourth, Woods fifth for Israel, Vlasov sixth, Carapaz seventh, probably deserved a bit better than that on his actual shape. Ciccone eighth, Adam Yates ninth, and then Barguil rounding out the top 10 for Arkea Samsic. And what does this mean, Benji? To be honest, for Pog in Lombardia, you can't fool me. You can't fool me. Enric Mas beat him here last year. He's still the favourite for Lombardia. That's how it is. The race gets longer. It's his peak event next week. Of course, he wanted to win. He's not here to just play around.
Yeah.
But I don't. This doesn't make me think Pog is going to be bad for Lombardia. It does make me think, despite all the drama which we're going to get into, and coming off the Vuelta, it does show that Roglic's shape is good for Lombardia.
100%. Certainly is good for Lombardia. The thing is, it's also with Lombardia that they change parkour every year. So it's from like Como to Bergamo, and then the other year it's from Bergamo to Como, and it's now the rather mountainous parkour is how I describe this year's version, where last year's version was maybe 85% as mountainous as this year's version. That's a pure guess from the profiles in my head, so let's hope I'm not completely off here. But I agree that Pogacar is probably still favorite, knowing that he's also done that years before where he wasn't that good at Emilia, and then he showed up when it really matters at Lombardia, even though Emilia still a pretty good race. It's
he came second last year.
But exactly. And I reckon we've had the same conversation multiple years actually on the podcast before. So it's not just this year. But I guess that's about it for Emilia. It's always a race where it's a pro race, but in reality, it's got a World Tour start list.
And that's what's so frustrating in previous years. The coverage of this has normally not been international. They've only had Italian domestic broadcast, and they have this golden start list. It's been brutal. This year it was actually on GC and Eurosport, and maybe it was on other elsewhere, but I could actually watch it legally, no problem. So that was brilliant. And they even had the split screen. So PMG, who I think Luke said still has it, they figured out the whole split screen. Maybe Luke's doing a bit of part-time work there. I don't know. He's the only person that does split screens because ASO and RCS haven't figured out the old split screen yet. But yeah, that was good. Albeit sometimes the irony is the split screen was unnecessary because they were showing the attacker, whoever it was, maybe Harper, but you could see the peloton in his actual shot because they were so close on the climb. But yeah, it's a lovely little race. It's kind of a mountain sprint. Could it have been a bit more open? That was up to UAE. They went for the sort of more conventional strategy. Didn't pay off this time. But we'll see in Lombardia next week. We'll have our preview, obviously, on probably Wednesday because the Italian Classics are always on Saturday because Sunday is for Mass. Alrighty, Benji.